right. Next up, we're going to hear from Alejandro, Jordan, and Vinay on growth hacking tactics for near projects. Please welcome Vinay to the stage.
Growth and hacking.
Two things we do often
Yes.
in life.
Gotta hack this audience to be grown.
How do we hack this audience?
I don't know. Maybe we could put up a bounty on heroes to come watch us talk and pay for some engagement. That would be one way.
Bounty, an open bar, engaging, smart guests. Oh, wait, we have that.
Cool. I think we can get started. Thanks everyone for joining us for this interesting panel on growth hacking, something we really look forward to in the near ecosystem. So I've got with me two awesome people who are very well known in this ecosystem, Jordan and AVB. Yeah, I think we can get started with presenting ourselves.
Yeah. Hi, I'm Jordan. In the near ecosystem, have built a lot of DAO and NFT infrastructure, and lately I'm focused on growth hacking for Mintbase, and also helping out on the Heroes project, leading product and also growth there. So, kind of my favorite thing right now.
Thank you, Jordan. Hi, my name is AVB. I've been around since 2021. And across various roles, I've also been doing some personal growth, some hacking, and no, but seriously, there's been many different attempts of trying to find ways to grow the ecosystem, acknowledging that there's value, and that we need to find a way to communicate it. From the early days, Silicon Craftsman, product and user experience, marketing DAO, podcast, YouTube, I've always been trying to find those areas of opportunity to, yeah, unlock value.
Yeah, and for myself, I work at the Near Foundation. I'm part of the community support team. So we always constantly are looking for new ways to experiment because nothing in Web3 is set in stone, right? Yeah, we've grown a lot in the Near ecosystem in the last 3 years. And since we are in the hacker house or the hacker HQ, we are also hacking, right? But putting those two terms together could mean something totally different. And like, I kind of want to set the stage with defining what we would consider as growth hacking. So if someone would like to kind
Sure.
of define what would that look like.
Yeah, for me, it's about being able to measure and having a framework in place so that when you have a cool idea and you want to see if it's going to work to actually get people into your ecosystem or whatever you're trying to accomplish, that you have a measuring stick to see how the experiment goes. If you have a framework like that set up where you've identified your audience and you have an activation that you think could speak to that audience, and you follow up after doing your campaign, you'll have lessons learned. Even if the campaign was a total failure, you'll have some things that you learned from it, things to do differently, things to do better. If it went well, then you've got things to repeat. But without that framework, you can't really hack. You need some way of seeing if the things you're trying to do are having impact.
Yeah. Anything to add from you?
Of course. If I ever stay silent, call an ambulance. Yeah, growth hacking is about having the simplest actions to drive the most value. If you were to compare growth hacking with a traditional marketing campaign, marketing is a bit more drawn out, established, traditional. You may just want to maintain what you have. Growth hacking says if we don't grow, we're dead in 6 months' time. And we don't care if it's legal, illegal, whose job it is. We're going to find a hole and get in there. And yeah, I think that it really calls for rapid iteration and I guess got to find the balance with what Jordan was saying. You want to iterate, but also be able to capture, is it having impact? And if it's working, how do we double down?
No, 100% agree. Yeah, I think what we could do is give a few examples of growth hacking that we've seen in the broader Web3 space, and kind of then draw similar examples of what have been happening like in the near ecosystem. So, does any one of you want to give
Sure,
one?
yeah. I think that if we're looking at concrete examples with an organization like Mintbase, there's kind of two audiences that are being targeted, and that's developers with the API tooling, and then kind of end users with more of the marketplace front end and examples like Minsta. So those are like two audiences, and if you're going to be doing a growth hack, you probably want to pick out one audience and go after that. Trying to capture multiple audiences with a single activation is challenging. It means that your measurements are going to mean less because you aren't even sure which one you were going after to begin with. Um, in the case of Heroes, the two audiences are the funders, the people who are putting bounties up, and then the hunters, the people who are showing up to do work. So again, you have to have some kind of measurement in place, some framework, and then pick out your audience, and then come up with your legal or illegal or side legal thing that you want to do to get those people engaged and make sure that you're like talking to them. And that means coming up with whatever number or metric it is that actually makes a difference and allows you to have a single number that gives you some idea of how much impact you had.
Yeah, thinking about growth hacking and looking too close to home is challenging because some people may argue that you may not have done or succeeded at growth hacking if you haven't seen the growth. So there's a lot of reflection to do within the near ecosystem. If we look at it more historically, which has a survivorship bias, but there's some good examples, even things like Airbnb. Creating a marketplace of sleeping at strangers' houses and paying them for it is challenging if you look at it in abstract. But a growth hacking technique was, we're not going to go after every city in the world, or we're not going to go after grandma's house. We're going to go after conferences, and we're going to go after tech conferences, and we're going to go, even in specific markets where we know there's a premium, so people earn more during that weekend, and then there's a break. There's no the tension to need to find another stranger, and etc. So that's a sort of framework, perhaps, that Jordan is mentioning, where you try to find where is the opportunity, how can you get the most value from it, and embedded in that is the experience that you're creating for the user that ideally triggers that flywheel. At some point, people should be coming to you and saying, hey, when is the next conference? Can we do this again? That was a great experience, and that's when you start growing your fan base. That's the definition of product market fit. You actually have more demand than you can serve. Right now, the only demand that we look at is block space, which is the shittest metric in the world. We should be thinking about what are the products out there that people are demanding and we don't have enough capacity to meet. So we have to go recruit new developers and whatever.
Yeah, and talking about nailing that that sweet spot of even knowing who you're growing it for, with Codame, the art and tech nonprofit that I started, my co-founder Bruno was doing more like tech meetups, things like that. I was doing music promotion, and just by seeing each other around San Francisco a lot, we were like, let's throw an event together where there's a bunch of like tech art type stuff, because we had friends coming into town for a conference. And that was one of those things where, it was a total experiment. We had no idea how it was going to go. And people came to us afterwards and were like, when's the next one? And that's when we knew, like, okay, I don't need to be putting energy into these side things when there's actually something for people to do over here. And the only reason that was able to grow and was successful is because there was something to do. Once the people came into that community, we had workshops, we had art shows where people could come and show their art and share their projects. And we always had a performance schedule so people could come and do something. It doesn't matter if you have a ton of growth in inbound if there's not some kind of action for people to take wherever you're trying to get them to go. Yeah. And that's what needs to be in place before you even think about growth hacking, is like, is this thing that we want people to do even worth doing? Like, have you asked yourself that question before you say we need people?
And the particular challenge that comes up in Web3 is because we are an ecosystem and we're all tangentially related, we can just bullshit ourselves with the metrics. So for instance, normally in a startup, you have the luxury and the curse of choosing your own metrics. You can be succeeding or failing. You can just paint it in different ways depending on who you're talking to. In Web3, we may piggyback on someone else's metrics that they're actually failing, but we want to claim it's a win. Number of users, number of transactions. These are all vanity metrics. You really need to see it in context. I'll give you specific examples of good, honest attempts, and then we can deconstruct where we are. You know what a really good growth hacking technique is? Minsta. Superb onboarding experience that leverages state-of-the-art onboarding, fast auth SDK. They did it faster than Pagoda, by the way. Meta transactions, only application on Near that I know that uses Meta transactions. I just onboarded 3 young fellows from Avalanche ecosystem. They've been in the Near conference for 3 days. Didn't have a Near wallet. It was after using Minsta that their minds blew, and I think they're recovering outside from it. So then you have 2 questions. Is Minsta a really good growth hacking application? Fuck yeah. It's free to you. You have the niche flagship event with hundreds or thousands of people attending, and then you move into the metrics. Are we just going to look at the number of people that got it? Are we going to look at the number of photos that they posted? Are we going to look at the quality of the photos because we're artists? Or are we going to look at how many people that were hackers saw Minsta, said, these people did all the work for us, and they go fork Minsta and start a real business? Or they add to the code base, and every single conference we can have richer and richer experiences.
Yep. And
That's for you to answer, Jordan.
yeah, well, I do like the direction that Minbase is going with focusing on the infrastructure stuff and, just showing that these kinds of experiences are possible and then enabling people on the other end of that. Kind of similar, really tangible example. You don't necessarily have to overthink it when you're talking about what you're measuring. With Heroes, we're looking at how many new bounties get made and then how many people are interacting with those bounties. And we're seeing a lot of good traction with people that got in early on the meme contest that was run, and just talking to other founders around the hackathon and having people sign up and start posting bounties right here is it demonstrates the value.
A growth hack would have been last night. Well, I wouldn't say it was packed, but there were more hackers than I was expecting building here. I woke up on the floor at 4 o'clock in the morning. I don't know what time other people dropped off. Would have been a good idea to create bounties for somebody to go and get us food. Min
that would have been
walked in at 1 a.m. in the morning with pizzas from the Near Foundation. I was like, this is 6 hours too late. So anyway, those are the small opportunities that we can try to identify. Perhaps other examples would be, the Shardoc Engageathon. It's a fantastic onboarding experience, but depending on how you structure the sequences, it may not have the impact that you want. Unless you require the booths to, promote it, unless there is the right information attached to it at the right time, the right set of incentives. Perhaps a better example, and I'd be really curious to see what metrics are attaching to it, would be NCon. NCon is obviously worthless, and we were going to give out the merch anyway. But being able to build an entire app using the key pump stack, everything from ticket to spending money, this is a case study. This is for a team to take to prospective buyers and say, hey, guess what? We ran a conference with 6,000 people. We gave out 600 burgers. People had a black market for hoodies because we didn't order enough merch. That's what product market fit looks like. And you growth hack it at your own conference because you don't have to convince anyone to pay you a lot of money to do it. So those are the small opportunities that sometimes I get frustrated because I don't see enough people looking for them. I feel that people are waiting for the bulls to return and for the backs to inflate, but we're not really thinking of how can we take this technology and activate these dorm cells of very smart people that will get excited at the opportunity to take the technology or the products and grow and hack and grow and hack and grow and hack and grow.
And I know that it's hacking, growing.
To the camera people at the back, we love you.
Hack and grow.
That's how you crowd hack an audience.
Yep. Everybody's excited now. The levels are up.
They woke up.
I did. I did at least.
Yeah.
Where do you want to take that?
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree. NCon has been a huge success to the point where people yesterday were in 2 states of mind, like, should I spend 15 NCon for a slice of pizza, or should I get myself a hoodie? And you could see people having those mental dilemmas, right?
But even that is a metric of success.
Yeah, it is.
If you've reached the Google level of my made up word is now a verb, you've succeeded.
Indeed.
Nobody's saying like, oh, go get the tokens, go get the shitty piece of paper with a timestamp in it to get pizza because you're hungry. NCon is now a thing. But obviously not the best name, but it's a thing. And there was probably a lot of thinking around it's going to be swag. We're going to give it for free, but it's going to be swag, it's going to be food, it was going to be free anyway. Like, you need to build those experiences.
Exactly, and like you could see, like pretty much at the end of each panel talk, especially at the NEARCON HQ, people would actually like get ahead at front, like try to scan those, and it really like gets people going. And I think like that's a solid use case for conference growth hacking, right? But I really want to touch up on the Minsta thing because what we've done, or what Minbase has done in the last couple of months, it's kind of created a blueprint. So Minsta and through the Minbase wallet, they've been now kind of iterating and making this better. And they haven't really, in my opinion, looked at the metrics in isolation. So they haven't been looking at number of wallets, number of NFTs. Obviously, they do as stats, but they look at success from impact point of view. And I think that's very important. Like, what is the individual impact and feedback from the people who use this solution, right? Of fast onboarding, complemented with like creating NFTs out of your photographs. So yeah, these iterations, we've seen the latest one for NearCon where you have AI descriptions. It's insane how good this is. And yeah, it'll only get better. So
With that example, because there is a trade-off. When you bring in the AI description, it's slower
yeah.
and more expensive to them. Do you think that the metric or the desired outcome is that when a photo has a caption, it's just a better experience for people going through the photos, or that they want to showcase that they've integrated AI seamlessly into a smart contract flow, or both?
I'd say a bit of both, but the former takes more weightage in my opinion, because we know how cool ChatGPT was when it launched. People were asking ChatGPT very basic questions just because they wanted to know how ChatGPT would respond. So here you have a similar framework where you're kind of inclined to take a picture to see what the outcome of the AI description is going to look like. So yeah, I do think there's that feedback loop of, hey, yeah, I'll see what's the outcome of X picture.
I think it's more the latter you mentioned with it proving that you can do AI as part of the flow, because it's not front and center in the minting experience. Like, the front and center experience is you go to the site and you have a wallet and you can take a picture and then it's minted. And that is a very easy, tangible thing for people to understand, whether they're in crypto or not. They get it. They're like, oh, I collect pictures. This is something that happens other places, and I keep them forever, and it's in a wallet. Great. Makes sense. The AI thing, I think, is more targeted. Like, that's the first thing is that end users. The AI integration is more to get developers to think like, oh, not only can I have easy access to like blockchain technology that I can throw in my applications, but I can also integrate it with AI very easily, and it gets those gears turning. So I think it's more thinking about that audience with the with that particular activation. But one of the interesting things about NearCon is like we're all here because of the technology, and the technology has brought us together, and we're starting kind of from that technology like stance and point of view. But if we're talking about growth hacking, we really need to be looking at users, end users, whether they're developers or end users, and how you walk back from that and meet them with the technology, what you have at your disposal. If you start with the technology and just make excuses for people to come and use it, then you're just kind of like convincing yourself that things are going well. But if you're solving real world problems, then everything that we're building starts to add up and make sense, and people will start using it because it's better than other things in the world, not because it's cool tech.
The term, the role of a growth hacker is a modern phenomena, but the reason why you may want to have someone that thinks about that specifically is because it really does take a special type of probably sociopathy or something. You know, if you think of what is the real value of an AI generated caption on a photo, which by the way is hilarious, share it. The fact that there's no a share button and people share the photos on Twitter with a hilarious AI caption. Because I can tell you, I share the Shard Dogs because I care about the team. Having the same standard message that sometimes doesn't even describe why it is, or that you can get a free wallet. Like, we don't really have people in the ecosystem who are hardcore product people or who are truly trying to growth hack things. We've all been comfortably and conservatively building infrastructure. And that's why we need to put out the bat signal. I don't know, maybe trigger a fire alarm or something, get people in this room, not what people do when a fire alarm goes off. We have reached the point where we have the primitives to truly grow this. And now we need savages out there that do whatever it takes to grow and hack.
That is true. Yep, gotta meet the people.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think are doing great stuff. It's just like I do agree, like the same caption or like the tweet draft you get when you share, that those are things that can be improved. But they are improving on other fronts. So I think overall, they are great growth hackers in my opinion. And Engageathon is a perfect example of that. Yeah, I kind of want to dive into, since we have about 5 minutes, something Jared from Shard Dog had brought up, and I think pretty much when his tweet went out, everyone in the ecosystem felt identified that this was a genuine problem and solution to that problem. So Jared was talking about the fire hose thing, right? So kind of wanted to get your perspectives. I think I've seen both of you react positively to that when that went out on Twitter, but kind of get your perspectives on where do you think or how do you think we can make this happen in the new ecosystem?
A fire hose?
Yeah.
I think it's about like Firebed. I There's always nuance. Arguably, we did have a fire hose on Boss. I am against groupthink. I am against poorly targeted campaign being passed down from above and community members feeling that you can't speak about anything else because it's not sanctioned. So I think that we do need a fire hose approach. Like, we need to truly understand the potential of technology and like triple down, but you can have many verticals. Maybe some of the challenges are that leading up to NEARCON, we hold back on a lot of announcements so that we have things to say on stage. But now that we have all these really good primitives, people can pick whatever interests them, whatever they may be better suited at, but really triple down. The fact that we have, resources to be given out to market and to promote, and that basically no one that I know in the community could explain to me what a count abstraction is, and that we've now moved to chain abstraction, we're wasting money. You may as well say, we'll give $100,000, go all in to the first person that brings me users from other blockchains through a chain abstraction. We don't understand it. We don't know it. I've seen slides and everyone's in awe that this shit is now live on mainnet. But we do need to, focus but diversify.
Yeah, and I think the tangible example there is bringing it to the real world, again, just to people with things like the Littles, where they identified that by going after a night market where there's a captive audience of the different vendors, you can actually talk to each different vendor in a night market and get them to sign on to using a token. It's kind of NCon but bigger because it's in a market. That's an approachable size of a thing that you can do. You're not going to get a whole city necessarily to do that, but you can take a smaller market and do an activation there where they understand the value of tokenization and loyalty points and things like that. And I think it's, rather than just a strict fire hose approach of do it all and there's going to be some conversion somewhere, thinking about what those smart opportunities are where it's that you can imagine being successful before jumping off the diving board, having some idea of what success looks like and knowing that you stand a chance of actually making it happen. It's a little bit big thinking to put the technology out there and expect everybody to build on it. If there's no builders that are willing to pick it up and actually bring it to users, then it might as well not have happened. A lot of technologists will focus on the fun tech problems, and then once the tech problem is solved, they think that everything is done. And
Yeah.
that's kind of just the start of having something that you can sell.
Yeah, I know that we're almost out of time, but just a really quick example of the way that I've approached growth hacking with a podcast. Every guest is a distribution channel to their audience. So you get inbound new people, and then the threshold is, do they stay? But then there's the cross pollination of exposing different audiences to different people. The growth hack is not me using other people to get more views on my shit. The podcast is me asking them, do you have a release? Do you have an announcement? Like, how can my platform serve you, so that we join forces and like maximize visibility? And there's going to be shorts coming up. There's something about organic content that is very valuable, especially in like decentralized communities. And yeah, that's a small example of just being thoughtful about the timing of things. And if you're going to do it anyway, just make it worth it.
No, I 100% agree. And I think like platforms like your podcast are good windows to showcase what's happening, deep dive in some of the different pockets in the ecosystem. And I know like, I mean, I've listened to a few of them, and they really are very insightful. So I think like it does.
Do you have a
Bring-
favorite?
Yeah, I've watched a few, but I kind of prefer the shorter clips because they go straight to the point and like address a specific thing. But yeah, I think you're doing a great job on that, and that's another example of how we are doing growth hacking in the ecosystem.
Please, I'm going to stop crying.
Great content reappropriation. Yeah,
Cool.
great content reuse.
I think we are up on time, but was really nice bringing this topic on stage. And yeah, growth hacking will continue evolving, and there'll be more of this in near, especially. So
Yeah.
Energy
Thank
is
you.
contagious. You want to see growth hacking, you got to grow and hack.
and
Hack
grow and hack.
and grow. And
Go NEARCON 2023! Woo!
Thank you.
Can you do the...
Oh yeah.